yet another episode of Cutting Chai Conversations brought to you by ETH. A great conversation with the right person is priceless. A great conversation inspires you to elevate your thinking. That's why ETH brings to you this Cutting Chai conversation today, where we will have a good discussion with our speaker about his early life, his education, grooming, training, and his life journey. Today we have with us Mr. Alok Rungta, MD and CEO of Future Generali India Life Insurance. He's a strategic leader, member of executive management team. He has the ability to guide, groom, and nurture key business imperatives and people capabilities in different markets. He has been a key contributor in the area of healthcare management and health services, financial management, technology, and digital enablement of organization, distribution, and employees' effectiveness. He has been a keen promoter of agility and accountability among various stakeholders and is driven to make tangible impact. So, thank you so much, Alok, Mr. Rungta, for joining us at ETH. We welcome you on Cutting Chai Stories.
Thanks, Dipti. Thanks for the invite. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Well, it's our delight that you are here, part of this conversation. So, let's begin by talking about your early life, your school days, your family life. So, could you take us through those days? What were your childhood days like? And any instances or any memories that you have that have really stood out and that have been like a life lesson for you that you have carried on till date with you?
So, Dipti, I was born in the era, which was where there was a classical transition happening from a Hindi medium education to a English medium education, right? In the early 70s, I'm talking about late 70s, sorry. And while my family or my grandparents and all wanted me to be educated, my mom was very clear that I should go to English medium school, breaking the traditional path of studying from Hindi medium. So I was among the first batch in the family who actually adopted English medium as an education. And to be very honest, it was not easy in the family because we come from a modest background. We come from a very modest background and not a very highly educated family. A family of businessmen actually. Businessmen in those days were not as widely educated, or their nuances on language and education was not high. So it a very interesting experience because there was a lot of self-learning in that sense. We were left to discover ourselves. Uh, but yeah, I grew up in a very value-driven society. I spent my early child days near Dadar Matunga area. Those who live in Mumbai can vouch that it was still a very middle class household at Sebastian, and so there are a lot of value and culture. I was in a English boys' school, which was a convent in its own sense. Uh, One thing which we never learned is how to deal with female colleagues while we were in school, right? Because we never interacted. But then we were also getting a lot of exposure on things beyond the obvious because being a Catholic convent school, we learn different aspects beyond our own understanding of religion and faith and otherwise. So very interesting experience. Uh, while I was not one of the brightest student always, uh, I think that has always helped me to be an underdog. So the pressure was not off. While I was among the those who are smarter ones, but not the intellectual ones. So one of my learning was being an underdog always helps because the expectation is moderate, right? And once you are in the line of expectation, then the pressure is too high. So that's how I build my thought process. Not so studious. I was a sports freak. Believe me, I've hardly studied as much as what some of my colleagues and friends would have studied after school, this, that. But I was always on the ground, uh, more outdoor. Uh, Obviously, first passion for those growing in those days was cricket as the first game, but mostly an outdoor sports guy, right? And sometimes I used to play chess and all. But that's how been my grooming in my college school days. Uh, Not someone who was favorite of the school teachers. right? But not someone who's on the other side as well. So it's been on the middle side where you it's like a lost childhood. Not many people recognize, and that's why I'm saying sometimes it is better to not be on either side of the fence, and that helped me a lot to stay under the radar and have my way through it.
Wow. So, absolutely. I think sometimes, or perhaps even more, you learn more things on the ground, on the field than inside the classroom. I think that's been great in your case. Coming to your college life, I believe you went to Mitibai College in Bombay, in Mumbai, before you headed on to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. So, I've had many interesting stories about Mitibai College, especially the food outside. So, we'll come to that later. But talking about your days there, any persons or any teachers or any mentors you've had during your college days here that have you think have shaped you as a person, or any instances that have shaped you as a person when you were studying here?
So it's an interesting college, right? As you rightly mentioned, it's known for all the things which can happen in Bombay. It happens in Mitibai, right? So the most interesting part was my father was damn against me going to Mitibai College. He was very sure that he will not study at all, right? With the results I had in 10th, he was anyway sure that he is going to have a tough time studying. And if you go to a college like Mitibai, he was absolutely against it. To be honest, absolutely against it. And then the problem with Mitibai College was it was opposite to NM College, right?
Hmm.
So you are sitting against the brightest guys in the town in an institute across the road, and then you are on the other side of the road. My
Yeah.
father was unhappy about it because, as I said, Miti was known for everything which can go wrong in a city for a youngster. But I told him it's okay. It's a nice college. Let me try it out. And also against almost against his permission or against his interest, I actually enrolled in Miti college. But what I really loved in that college was we were doing more things beyond studies. So I had
Yeah.
friend across the road. They were all studious guys, smart guys, right? But I don't think they enjoyed life. Midi college actually got the best out of me out in terms of uh, getting deep into friendship, learning to live with people at large, having a larger perspective on things beyond your own perspective. Because they're all quarter of societies there in Midi college, right? The kids from the best in class to the kids who are coming from the not so well-to-do side. So how do you live with them? You have friends across stature. Uh, so that was a first experience of dealing with people, right? And creating a balance. So not getting lost, right? But still staying focused. And on instances, I can tell you, somehow in college, I started getting some respect because maybe I got some bits more serious in college than I was in school. And a lot of teachers over-appreciated started recognizing. But I remember one instance because see, I was also after 12th, uh, I enrolled for the CA
Hmm.
foundation. I cleared the foundation in the first go. It was the first batch of foundation which was relaunched that year. And then you have to go for articleships. So the routine was we'll go to college morning, 7 to the college was 7 to 10:30 or 11. But the articleship would start at 10:30 or 11. And the offices where we have to go would take another 1 hour, for example, to travel. So we used to cut short our college for an hour, attend 3 4 lectures in the morning, mostly to say hi to friends rather than attending lectures, and rush to the articleship. And the colleges were not encouraging it; they were not happy because they knew kids are cutting down the college time, right? I remember once I was standing outside the college on a phone booth, and I was trying to reach out to a friend who had not come so far. So I had come early in the morning. This guy has not turned up for the first 2 lectures. This was a break, so I was calling him, "Buddy, where are you? I'm waiting for you because I need to leave in next 1 hour." Articleship. And one of our maths teacher caught me. And she was pulling me right. You are not seen in the class. I don't see you nowadays because her lecture used to be in the later part of the day, right? So I used to invariably miss the lecture.
Yeah.
And by that time, I had established myself that okay, I know maths well. So that is the reason she knew me. Otherwise, I said I was not recognized otherwise in the school as much. And she just lashed on to me, and I said, "No, ma'am, I'm attending class. You don't see me at times." She said, "No, you don't make a fool out of me. And now you are standing in the queue. What are you doing?" I said, "No, no, I'm calling a friend for notes." I still remember, it's been what 30 years now that incident would have happened. It is so fresh in my mind. But it gave me so much confidence that okay, I didn't realize that I've been recognized or I've been identified by teachers, or they know me, for them to figure out that you have not been in the class.
Hmm.
Right. So those instances are something which will stay with for life. There have been instances in the college where over a period I realized being recognized in the college that I was a foundation course, I was doing CA. For the campus, we used to have a lot of elections.
Hmm.
Now I didn't realize how I was used at time for the right purpose, and I'm assuming in the right earnest, that I used to accompany this guy who used to take me along, and the deal was he will offer me something to eat. I think so, the sandwich outside, if I just go around with him. And I realized later I'm going around with him to canvas for him actually and get votes, right? Whereas I thought I'm just accompanying my friend doing the rounds in the closet. For later to realize that actually he was leveraging on that, right? So you get used, right? Again, I'm saying in the right spirit, not otherwise. And college experience that way are very naive and innocent, because you don't have that materialistic mindset which over a period you create.
Hmm.
And that's where your friendship is real and deepened, because you start to learn and respect each other and love with each other. So those friends, you will not believe, I still hang out with them. It's been 35 years, and we are still in touch, because those are the best friends I have ever created. And my college life, I always rate was the best time of my life.
Absolutely, that's how it sounds. So it seems like I think the early years of your life, your school and college days, have actually given you a lot of learnings about life in general and about people management. So that's why I think you take a keen interest in developing people and interacting with them. So coming to your professional life now, let's talk about the evolution in your career, and quickly, if you could tell us any highs and lows that you've had in your career that our audience can learn from.
No, so you see, you learn a lot, but I think the most difficult situations are one which teaches you how to deal with situations, right? So we keep on hearing in management, right? You need to respond to a situation. You don't have to react to a situation and all. So I remember quite early in my career, I was with Larsen and Toubro at Powai on the plant side. So I was an officer grade, but I have a lot of the people who are labor grade in the team, right? And in that class, overtime is very common and all. And as a management guy, I was said, look at overtime. Why are we spending so much on overtime? And can you revisit that? So early, I was just 21, I remember, or 22 at most. I got a flavor of dealing with the labor union, because when you start looking at after after those clan, right, the officers, the labor secretaries, and I thought that taught me a lot of how to talk about people, right? Make them understand what are we trying to achieve, right? How do you tell them how it's a win-win, right, in a situation which is very tough, because you can't enter a factory premises, believe me, if you're not on the rights of these people.
Hmm.
So one of my biggest learning, and I always give credit, that in my life I have been blessed, literally blessed, that I've got real tough situations to handle quite early in my life,
Hmm.
right? And that's where I believe the growth is more sustainable for individuals at large. Because you see, a lot of people, when they rise to a level, they fall, and the fall is a cliff fall, right? Because they're not dealt with difficult situation, or they're not dealt with very difficult, complex issues to manage. And I believe the faster the exposure came to me, it helped me grow faster in my life. So that's one thing. I think it was a very low moment. Believe me, it's not easy to deal with the factory stuff. But when I reflect today, I believe that was one of the best moment which has groomed me so much, right? So these kind of, I always rate these kind of incidents as critical for people's success, right? Then I moved to consulting.
Hmm.
I was in Deloitte for 2 years, and The highs in consulting is, the kind of people you deal with. So I was dealing only with the CEOs and CXOs during the 2 years of consulting. I was doing insurance consulting, I was doing mutual fund consulting. So that's a different high, because now you're dealing with strategic people. You're dealing with people with a strategic outlook. You're trying to understand what are they looking for, right? But that experience is an amazing learning experience, because again, quite early, if you're on a day-to-day basis, almost, because I was running 10, 12 projects across the country, sometime located in some part of the country to complete a project for a month or so, but you're dealing with the senior management the most, while the execution is happening through the juniors inter team. And that was another high, because that experience itself is very different, because you start looking at people and say, okay, what are they thinking? How do they think? These guys
Hmm.
are not looking about today. They are looking about the future, right? They are thinking about how we can improve things going ahead, right? So in IT consulting, in technology consulting, or slowly in insurance consulting, that exposure was, believe me, one of the best for me. So again, I said I am blessed that in my formative years, I have these kind of interactions, these kind of challenges also, in that sense, because these people you have to deal with the right, you have to be almost in their realm for them to appreciate also what you bring on table, right? So it's not easy, but that's the challenge. So these were early days challenge. Obviously, as you grow, the complexity grows, challenges grows. You rightly pointed out, being a sports freak, you learn to be a team manager, or you learn to be a team player. You start uh, accommodating people. You start understanding the needs of different people in a team situation. So those learning help you a lot. Okay. And I think, and those have been my highs and lows, that when I have dealt with people, how I've dealt with situation, they have taught me a lot. And I think that's a result of what I'm today, because of those kind of situations.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. The one very key question that I'm sure our viewers would like to know from you is, I'm sure you have to keep, working on different skills or acquiring different skills, especially in a leadership role like yours. So, how have you invested in yourself to keep improving upon your skills?
Very interesting point, So one of my early bosses, told me that look at your willingness to work rather than skill to work, right? Because if you have willingness, you will acquire skill also,
Mm.
right?
Right.
So that is also my mantra. We hire for will, don't hire for skill, because skill can be parted, right? But there has to be a
Mm.
willingness, there has to be an acumen, there has to be a drive, there has to be a DNA where the person is happy to invest. So Dipti, what I've been doing a lot in my career is I ensured over a period of time that my BAU is something which doesn't suck me. That has been my approach. So I ensure that my BAU is so much organized and put in place that I have always been doing more projects than BAU. Right? And through projects and different types of experiences or different type of work I have done, it keeps on adding to my skill base. So if I don't know something on one aspect of the business, maybe I do a cross-functional project.
Mm.
Or if this is something which I need to develop, right, as they call on the job training. So I've done a lot of that in my life, right, and that has really helped me. So doing courses and all is okay, good to have knowledge, but unless you put that knowledge into use, no wisdom doesn't come, right?
Mm.
So practically, when you start applying things, what you have learned, right, is where you really test your knowledge or the knowledge comes into play. And that has been my mantra, that in every job I have taken, I would have taken a year or so to set the ball rolling on the BU side, get the right people who can do the job, get the right structure and processes, but keep bandwidth for yourself. And that has always helped me to keep on building skill, because then I would have looked at things which I can do beyond the BAU, and then keep on acquiring those skills, which has helped me. But I tell you one more most important thing on skill building is, how do you take your feedbacks which are given to you, and in the right earnest. So
Mm.
one experience I can tell you is, I had a 360 degree feedback in 2010. And when I saw that 360 feedback, it was all red. This is a power oriented guy. This guy gets the work done, but he will rub shoulders. And my boss then told me, boss, this is a great report. I said, what is great about this report? I said, at least this report tells you who you are, right? Because I was never told till then. I was never told then that while you are a performer and you're getting best, but this is, do you destroy a relationship when the work is over, or you are creating a relationship when the work is on? So how do you transit then? So he told me this is a great report, and but I'm telling you, you will never become a leader with this report, right? That changed my life. Right? But then I sat with him and I said, you tell me what it takes to be a leader. And he said, you can't have all this red, right? This red tells me that you are great in doing the job, but it's not the way you're getting the job done. Okay. The process sometimes is more
Mhm.
important than the outcome. So that pushed me, literally pushed me to change almost 180-degree from who I was to who I am. And for that, I had to work hard, change my style, bring some rationalization in the way I approach things, introduce the word called collaboration in my dictionary of work, and how do I bring people together to be a better leader. Because one thing again I recall, and I don't know whether I read this somewhere, someone told me, are you a leader by choice or are you a leader given? Right? The leader by choice is a leader where people want to work for you. A leader who is given is that it was, I don't have a choice, you are my boss, I have to work with you. Right? And if you have to become a leader by choice, then you have to have a different approach. So for me, the skill building or adoption started after those kind of reflection. And I committed to myself that if I am aspirationally thinking something which I want need to be, then I have to acquire these skills. And that's how I have been adding. And I believe feedback in the right earnest, given in the right earnest, and taken in the right earnest can really change life.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And rare that a leader talks so much about all these things. So thank you for once again for sharing that for our audience. So you've told us about your hobbies and interests, sports you mentioned. Anything else quickly if you'd like to tell us that you like
I am
hobbies and
a movie addict.
you like movies? Okay,
I am also someone who like music a lot. Right. I like to
mm,
travel a lot, given a choice and time. I love to travel a lot as well.
great there. So
So
movies and travel apart from sport. Well, with that, we would like to conclude this interview, this chat with you. It has been a wonderful experience chatting with you today, and we've learned so much. Thank you so much once again, Mr. Rungta, for that absolutely delightful conversation. I'm sure our viewers would really, really value this conversation today. And now I'd like to invite into this conversation Mr. Ashish Karunakaran, Vice President and Industry Leader, BFSI, Tata Communications. So I'm going to be posing a question to the both of you. I'll start by asking Mr. Rungta, you have been working with a number of BFSI organizations. How do you see the technology and overall ICT landscape evolving in the last couple of years? And what are some of the key emerging trends that you have witnessed?
yeah, Dipti, I just to reflect, I think today we live in a generation where technology gets obsolete every 3 years. So I don't know what will last and how long. But yeah, in the last few years and what I see for the next few years again, and I'm saying really few years because I don't know what will happen in long run. Generative AI, whether it was Chat GPT-4 or what, and the evolution which is happening at such a fast pace, I think that is becoming the flavor of the town. And because it has been spoken so much and it has its own brain, I think a lot of people are looking at it to look at what business situations and problem solutions can be driven through it, right? The only thing is one has to be very careful to say what is the best use case for himself or herself for the organization to apply. But I think that's going to be the theme for some time. But as I said, this sometimes can be very short. This can be 2 3 years, but I don't think anybody can predict what is coming next and when. But the pace of change is very fast. So one has to be also be very careful and nimble in adopting or choosing whatever you want to choose, right? And then how do you keep on upgrading, reevaluating, whatever you call it. Like in the hardware, we say, are you hardening the servers or not? So I'm just using that analogy. So you keep on hardening your software stack all the time, depending on. But I think it's purely driven by use case. I think that should be the paramount driver, and then I think generative AI and related technologies are the ones to go for.
Mm. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And now I pose the same question to you, Ashish. You have been working with a number of BFSI organizations. How do you see the overall ICT landscape evolving, and what do you see as the emerging trends that you may have witnessed?
Okay, thanks, Deepthi. I completely agree with what Alok mentioned, and maybe we may have actually, we all come from say around 30 plus years of experience, so we have seen a different era of technology where it has transformed the business. So in traditional days, it was more of like your technology adoption, and the time we live with was actually longer duration. You invest on some kind of a technology, you live with that for at least 10 years. And the impact of technology in overall business is something like not okay. It's more of like it's a maybe an enabler for the business. But now what we are seeing is that the life cycle or the timeline which you are part of any of the technology is not even in a year sometimes, and maybe the implementation life cycles are traditionally it is 6 months, 1 year. Now we are talking about it's a week, couple of weeks, you are done and dusted with the technology implementation. And your differentiation coming in the way you are adapting technology. You are seen actually like here we are talking about, so Alok is talking about the life insurance industry, whether it is life or your general or maybe like any of the financial services or other industry that way. The many times a differentiator come in terms of technology, and people see something like who is technology more advanced. The customer are also seeing that particular, and they want a technology-based delivery happening. And this is getting further fuel with all the new gen technologies like whether you're talking about an AI or a blockchain or anything that sort of, this is also further changing the game. And I feel that the way we are consuming the technology today for the financial service industry specifically, this we could see a massive transformation. Maybe I'm not talking about a fire, maybe in the next 3 years itself, the way we are consuming the services, there is going to be a massive transformation. We have seen in the past with the internet boom and everything, the way the consumption has happened. Probably like you have seen actually nobody going to bank branch now. Everybody is actually like consuming everything to a mobile banking and all those things. And the way actually payment system have changed. But the next phase of revolution is going to be so phenomenally different, and that's where actually all these systems are going to contribute. Yeah, that's it from my side.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Ashish.